Well, that was definitely a hockey game of all time. There's no doubt about that. Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche post-game show presented by Bet365. Big E and Rudo coming to you live as the Avs lose to the Chicago Blackhawks 3-1 into a disappointing, frustrating, just not any fun of a hockey game, I think, to say the least. Look, do I think this game has significant ramifications long-term? No. Does experiencing it in the moment feel good? No. That game was not fun to watch. And look, you can look at some of the underlying numbers and say there are things that the Avs did well tonight, and I think fair enough. But ultimately, they didn't do the one thing that mattered, and that cost them the game. Should you be frustrated about tonight, or should you wash this one away?
I think you're always frustrated, right? When you don't win the game, as fans, as coaches, as players, as whatever management, it's just not fun. Not winning, and especially when you're on a run, you're on a roll, you are on a 8-game point streak. You know what I mean? And then again, we talked about it pregame. This is a team you should beat, right? You know what I mean? And it's not like you played really poor in a sense that I didn't say it was exciting. It's just not that you got pummeled and you gave up 30 grade A scoring chances. And, at the end of the day, like, it wasn't that exciting, but it wasn't that bad. You just fell into the trap game a little bit of, letting them hang around, and you didn't go and bury them. And next thing you know, you're in a dogfight, and then it's just too late to make a little bit comeback. And then you get goalied, especially for me, it was the second period. I thought Mrazek played really good, and that's where the difference was. And I'm not here to bag on Trent by any means. He wasn't very busy. He wasn't, you know what I mean? But on the other side, Mrazek was, and he finished with a 950 or whatever it is that he did, 960 or, so
something like that.
You got goalied in, something like that. You got goalied in the second, and then you're just trying to swim back, and it just wasn't there. Wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of angles to start here with. I want to start with Trent Miner. And was Trent Miner any good tonight? No, he did not play great hockey. But also, that's a guy who's not ready for the NHL. And you knew that going into this game. There was no surprise there. If the Avs had other options, Trent Miner would not have played tonight. But the reality of the injury situation they were in, unless you wanted to play Blackwood on both sides of a back-to-back, you had to play somebody. And so they put Miner in the net. And I think you can look at all 3 goals against tonight and want better out of Miner. But again, that's not on him. That's on the team to do a better job in front of him to help him out, because Miner's an AHL goaltender right now. Maybe somewhere down the line he can become an NHL goalie, but you knew he wasn't ready going into tonight, and the team in front of him let him down.
And it's a learning experience for a young player too, right? Trent's no different. This is his first start in the National Hockey League. And then, and you learn, you take those lessons and you make yourself a better goaltender. You know what I mean? He's going to take that back with him. Who knows how long Wedgwood's going to be out, right? We all don't think it's going to be that bad, and maybe, Trent's going to have to come in, and he's on the team right now. So maybe he has to come in or whatever. You could have a skate blade problem and you have to get in there and play for a few minutes while it's getting fixed or whatever it is. But those are learning experiences tonight that he learned from his start. He'll take away what he liked from the game. He'll look at what he didn't like from the game. But he's certainly going to grow as a player, and I think that that's important. Unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of run support tonight. You get 1 goal. It's pretty rare you win in the National Hockey League if you have 1 goal. Usually the odds are not very good. But you know what? He's been working his whole life for this. And like you just said, was he fantastic? No. Is it his fault? No. But at the end of the day, this is where the Avs are in tonight. And I thought it was awesome to get a prospect like him. He's made himself a prospect. He was kind of a forgotten prospect, so to speak, right? Because, he had to fight his way back. And like I said, it's a great story. And now this is a tool or a feather in his cap, whatever you want to call it, to make himself a better goalie and to learn and to grow as a professional hockey player. And you taste the NHL. It's a privilege to be in the NHL. Every day you learn. Every day you're learning something new. I said to be on the plane, to be on the ice tomorrow on a back-to-back. How do the guys react? How does it do? How does it work? How's the coaching staff's expectations? How's everything? So, you know what? Lesson learned in this one. It's not all lost. And at the end of the day, they didn't get on top of it. They didn't have any run support. And, again, unfortunately, was it the second time now you're losing to, the Blackhawks? And again, kudos to them. They were opportunistic when they had to be. They scored more goals than the Avalanche. I mean,
yeah,
you did something
again,
right.
There are two things to look at here. In their last 9, the Avs are 7-1-1. A loss here, obviously, you don't feel great about it in the moment, but in the big picture, not that big a deal. On the other side,
right.
You look at their last 3 games. You have an overtime loss or a shootout loss where you scored 1 goal. You have a win where you scored 2 real goals and an empty netter. And you have tonight where you put 1 goal in the back of the net again. Frankly, and I don't, you got goalied or whatever. You have to find a way to score more than 1 or 2 goals in a hockey game in the NHL. When you have especially the talent that the Avs have, I don't care that Jonathan Drouin and Val Nichushkin are out. You have Nathan McKinnon, you have Mikko Rantanen, you have Cale Makar, all of which gave you 0 points tonight. Your only goal came from Juuso Parssinen, a depth guy for you that you just acquired 10 days ago. You need to find better production from your best players somehow. Whatever you have to do. At the end of the day, they played great process. They doubled them up in shots. I don't care. You can have 100 shots. If none of them go in, they don't mean anything.
You're right. And that's why they get paid a lot of money. That's why they're at the top of the league, and they're usually one of the most consistent bunch in the National Hockey League. But when they go 3-4 games dormant a little bit, I hate that word, but right? We look at Mac 20 games ago, whatever it was. Remember, he went 6 points in 7 games, and everybody was panicking, and then he went on a tear again. So it comes and goes a little bit. You're right. Mikko, for example, the empty netters have kept the streak alive, right? Like the other day and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it wasn't lately. The last, 4 games you just went over? It's just not enough goals, and
Yep.
That is not part of their makeup. Their makeup is they usually produce more than that. And you're right. Tonight, that you got goalied, whatever. I never use that as an excuse. For me, it's like, then find a way to put it in, right? Find a way to come through with a big play. And but the Avalanche, they just haven't been producing. And then I'm talking about the last 4 games at a regular pace that they usually do. With that said, that's why I was talking about it the other day. Your secondary guys have to step up and help out. It was nice to see Pars.
They did tonight.
No, that's what I mean. No, I know, but one time. But it's like there's guys in there. Maybe I'm talking about Casey a little bit. I expected bigger things from Casey tonight myself. Right? I said he's going to have a multi-point game, and he's going to, just kind of get going a little bit. I just feel that it's just, the body of work. Okay, get out of it with a big play in the third period against, Buffalo. Then it's like a little play here and there. An assist the other night that, gives to Tate, shoots the puck, goes in. Not a huge play. I mean, and again, I like Casey. I'm not bagging on him. But I'm saying you got to have a little bit of more production. Guys like that. And I go back to, Kibbe and Logan and Parker, I love those guys. It's all good, but you can't go dormant for 10, 12 games when your big guys are not producing. You have to help out, at some of those moments. And right now they are pretty dry, those guys. And when you're dry, then your top end guys join you to be dry. It's not a good sign. That's when you're getting 1 goal, 2 goals, empty net, and that's, for me, it's not alarming. It's very normal through the case of a 82-game season. And again, you said it. They're 8-1-1 last 10. So that's a pretty good segment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's the reality. That's the reality. But again, but it's frustrating on a game like tonight. Absolutely, it's frustrating. Absolutely.
Yeah,
as it
grand
should.
scheme, I don't care about this game. I don't. In the
No.
moment, this game in a vacuum, unbelievably frustrating to watch and incredibly annoying and disappointing at times for this Colorado Avalanche team to put what they put out there on the ice. And I know they had 37 shots on goal and all of this, but you run through this game and you look at the different portions of it, and you go 0 for 2 on your power play tonight, both of which were awful, truly terrible power plays, in my opinion. And every opportunity for you to either put this game out of reach for Chicago or get yourself back into the game, it just felt a little bit too much like the Avalanche were going through the motions. And Chicago's a bad team, so the Avs still managed to get 37 shots on goal through that stretch. But it just felt like the Avs weren't committed to the details. Certainly their top players, it felt like they weren't committed to the details of doing the right things tonight. And I think nothing sums that up more than the opportunity that Nathan MacKinnon had to essentially shoot a puck into the empty net. And I know there are 2 or 3 defensemen in the way that makes that shooting lane hard, but you have Peter Mrazek actually out of the net, lying on the opposite side of the ice. And not only does Nathan MacKinnon not shoot it, but he handles the puck for about 2 or 3 seconds and then passes it cross ice to the side that Mrazek is on. And the Avs fail to even get a real scoring chance on net in that opportunity.
Yeah, the execution wasn't there. And, and when you score 1 goal, you can't say your execution was there because it's not. You know what I mean? So, and it's been a little bit of a common theme the last few games, and it's been a little bit of the power play all of a sudden starts to hurt you, right? Because it's not producing, it's not even gaining momentum. It's not, and that's on top guys. I can't blame Parker Kelly for the power
Right.
play.
Exactly.
He's not a power play guy. He doesn't get on the power play, and he doesn't make. And it's not about making money. I'm saying pressure and money, and they all comes with it. Comes with the territory and producing. So when you are paid to produce, then you got to produce, and no better time than the power play. You know what I mean? So where I feel I'm getting frustrated a little bit with the power play, as you know, like for me, it's just I don't know, like it's a stubbornness. I don't know what
Yep.
it is, but they just need to find and there's times in a game where you're not driving play, you're not whatever it is, but all of a sudden you have a power play. Well, that's on your top guys because they get out there to make the clutch play, to make the clutch goal, and to all of a sudden turn the game on a dime. We just haven't really seen that the last 3-4 games. We haven't really seen a lot of that. And
Correct.
sometimes it starts to hurt you a little bit. Tonight it certainly did. Montreal certainly did. Even though they had a power play goal, if I'm trying to remember Montreal, but still, it was
They did.
they all blends in. But Miko, right, something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Games all blend in right now, but but still, just not enough consistency with it. You know what I mean? Of like,
Yep.
okay, they're back now. It just feels like they fall into a hole again, and they fall into some bad, whatever it is, habits you want to call. I don't care what if you call that a bad habit or a more sophisticated play. The sophisticated play's not working right now, so it's just not. So maybe you just try the brute. You know what I mean? And you bring again. My play. Bring it up top and shoot. That's that
Yep.
simple. And you have to go back to basics. So can't be that complicated.
Yeah. Sometimes things are, you have to simplify. The Avs' most attempted shot tonight was from Devon Taves. You have Nathan MacKinnon, you have Mikko Rantanen, you have the rest of the Avs' top 6, and you're letting Devon Taves attempt the most shots on net. It is almost mind-boggling at times. The Avs, and look, MacKinnon attempted 5 shots tonight. It's not like he didn't attempt anything, but far too often you're watching the Avs' best players defer to players who are, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but they're not as good. You're watching the best players on the planet defer to players that are not as good as them. You should not be surprised when the puck doesn't end up in the back of the net. It's not that complicated.
Too pretty, too cute, right? You know what I mean? And then it's like, and it's amazing though. It's amazing when it works, right? Oh man, did you see that seam pass? To Miko in the corner, and you know what I mean? And what a one-timer. Yeah, great. That's awesome. And I know it's worked a lot. I'm not saying that, but right now it's not. So when it's not working, you got to get back to simplify and get back to the basics. And then those plays open up the seam passes, the bumper. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden the other team's on their toes and they're respecting the shot. And then once you shoot, all hell breaks loose because that's just what it is. It's called a broken play. And then
Yep.
now their D's have to turn, they have to find pucks. Now it creates open lanes, it creates all that kind of chaos. But without it, right now it's the execution's not there. They're not threatening it, and they're not being threats. You know what I mean? So you need the perfect play to work, and it's just not working. So then it
Yep.
just kind of makes you chase the game a little bit, and they'll be all right. I mean, they'll get out of it. Again, I've said it
Yeah.
before. They're artists, and sometimes artists can be complicated, and you know what I mean, like, and a little bit. I don't want to say diva-ish, but you know what I mean. And it's like, let's go. You know what I mean? You need a little reality check right now. You need to be better at those areas, and that's going to unclog the rest of your game and the rest of us starting to produce more and not get stuck in that little rut there right now. 3-4 games of low scoring games.
It look again. All of my issues with this game are very much contained to within this game. I have almost no concerns about this team long term.
Yep. Yes.
My frustrations are entirely encapsulated in a hockey game where if the Avs played to the details and did the things they were supposed to do, they probably win tonight. And they did not do a good enough job of that tonight. Now, if you put them in a playoff situation, guess what? They're probably paying a little bit more attention to those details and everything turns out fine. So I don't want to put too much stress on that. I will say in chat, Munkinator asking the Avs Central Division record. They're 5-6 after tonight. They're under 500 against the Central Division. And that includes 2 losses to the Blackhawks. That's not a good thing. I don't think you can sit here and be happy with the Avalanche's performance against the Central Division with some of the losses that they've turned in. And I get that it feels a little bit hypocritical. They're fine. They're coming off a huge win streak, point streak, rather, I should say. They've played really good hockey. They'll probably show up tomorrow against Minnesota and play really good hockey. So I don't have overarching concerns, but yeah, it needs to start getting better in these, call them one-off games, call them the games that are supposed to be easier on their schedule. They need to start doing a better job of earning the points when they can instead of trying to get away with stuff on games like this. But
Yeah,
is
you're
what it
right.
is.
Because it just makes your path easier, right? You know what I mean? You make life a little easier on yourself. And we all know that it was not easy the first month. It was not easy the first 4 games. It was not. So your path has been disrupted a little bit already. You got yourself back on track. Obviously, pretty awesome the way they've done it. You know what I mean? I think they've played some pretty good hockey. They've had some good trades, you know, with the goalies and stuff like that to make sure that they are on the right track. But yes, on games like teams you're supposed to beat, yes, you know, it will happen one night, 2 nights, whatever, but you can't make it a habit, you know what I mean? Because then you're really erasing everything that you've done, you know what I mean, in the 10 games segment where all of a sudden now you're losing games you're supposed to win. And I hate that saying, you know, but it's a reality. You have to know where you're at as a team, where you are as a franchise, and where some other teams are, where you're clearly a better team. But you got to go out there and play the game. You say it all the time, and then you got to go out there and execute, and then you got to go out there and dominate, and then give them a reason to quit. And you know everything we talked about pregame, they didn't do. You know what I mean? Like it was like fine, it was just a game. You know what I mean? And yeah, they got the lead, but then all of a sudden it's like they didn't give up a lot. We all know that. You give up 20 shots, you should be able to win a game, right? You know what I mean? It's just at
Yep.
the end of the day, the execution wasn't there to score goals and to be hungry on the power play and to go out there and really dominate. I just felt that they felt like one of those games that you just played and that's it. Great.
Yep.
Go
Eric,
shower and that's it.
would you say the Avs played like a grundle tonight?
That's not the SAT word of the day today, Grundle.
I
Let's
don't
think
know if
about
it's an
what that
SAT
means.
word.
For me, it is. For me, it is. Where's my dictionary? God, Grundle.
Synonyms: taint.
Oh, I get it. All right. Floor's yours.
Well, you know what? I don't think the Avs play smelled very good tonight. So if it smelled like a grundle and you smell like a grundle, you need Mando. All right. Make sure you go get with Mando, one of our newest partners. They're out here. They have deodorant that's hyper focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Whether it's your pits, your belly button, your balls, your butt cracks, or your grundles, they've got you covered over at Mando. So make sure you're getting with them. Make sure you're taking care of your smells as a man and getting all of those smells in the correct direction. I don't know, smelling better than the Avs finishing tonight. How about that? We'll go with that. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, as well as free shipping. So as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code DNVR. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com today. Please support our show and tell them we sent you over to Mando. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Once you're smelling good, make sure you're getting yourself into your Toyota and driving away to wherever is better than that Avalanche hockey game. Go visit your local Toyota Front Range dealerships to get yourself into the official vehicle of DNVR and the Colorado Avalanche. All-wheel drive vehicle on 17 different cars, so even when it snows like it has been lately in Colorado, it can get you where you're needing to go. Of course, they got a bunch of hybrid vehicles too if you're trying to save on gas. Whatever Toyota vehicle is for you, make sure you get out to AutoNation Toyota Rapids, Centennial, Corwin Toyota, and Boulder Group Toyota, and Littleton, Mountain States Toyota, and Denver, Stevenson Toyota, East Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, they're the official vehicle of DNVR over at Toyota. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Look, let's talk about the good parts a little bit. I don't really have a lot of issues with the way the Avs played in this first period. I thought they played a pretty darn good period. They took it to Chicago for the majority of the period, and great work. You get rewarded with a depth goal from Juuso Parssisnen, a great little skill backhand that puts it into the back of the net. If you're looking for a silver lining, do you think Parssisnen maybe earned a little bit more tonight, E?
I think so. I mean, again, I think it's there. I was listening to the TNT broadcast, and Panger was talking about him after that play, saying, that's pro scouting, and he's right. You know what I mean? Because what it is that you're doing is you're, how can I say that? It's like you're seeing something that maybe the team he's on is not seeing. You know what I mean? And I do believe there's more in the box there, in the Cracker Jack box of UC Parssisnen. I love that name. I love it. Parssisnen. But that's my Finnish accent. And then I am Finnish too, just so you know. I'm everything.
No, sure you are.
Yeah. But it's like it's I think there's a little more in there. It's a pretty cool play. We all saw his 3-on-3 goal, right? In overtime, we talked about it between the legs. So there is some sort of a skill set there. Now, if you can learn to, and Bednar talked about his details, right, on TNT. He said he's had a lot of good details to his game, and that's why we're starting to gain trust from him. And I think it's a step in the right direction where you're showing that there's more to your game. You're capable of more and you want more because it starts with the details of your game. If the details are there, you'll gain the trust. If the trust is gained, then all of a sudden you'll start producing and having better outcome on the offensive side of things. So that was a little bit of a bright spot, nice little play there. And then again, I like him. I do believe that there's more to him, and it's certainly a better option than some of the options that we've seen. The past month or so, the revolving door that we've seen coming in. I feel that with this one, I do believe that they're on to something there.
Played 14:35 tonight. That's more than LOC. That's more than Parker Kelly. So he was definitely given a little bit more rope. And he was the only player on the Avs to finish on the right side of plus minus tonight. So a little bit of something there. Maybe you can feel a little bit good about a potential Avs depth option that they did give up some assets for. If you're looking for a positive, there you go.
Yeah.
So
take
that, run with it. And again, I didn't have a problem with the first period except for one singular play that ends up in the back of your net. And you have to know that the Avs had conversations, right? They know Trent Miner's in net. They know he's a rookie goalie. a pretty tough turnover from Sam Girard in his own end that he
Samuel.
shoots through the middle of his own zone that ultimately ends up in the back of your net. You don't want to do that on any night, but to put that on a guy in his first career start, you got to think a little bit more, right?
Yeah, and then nothing feels worse. No one feels more worse than Sammy. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you make something and you're like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Not forget about hockey. Like, you're about to do something, but I want to do something else, and then so you can tell like he makes that play and he's like, oh crap, it's not what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh crap, and then you feel bad because then it's a 1-0 game at a time, and then it makes it a 1-1 game with a young kid in net, like you just said. Then it just makes things escalate, and it could have been avoided. You know, what I mean, because it wasn't the right choice of play, right?
Yep.
More of a gift. And we said pregame, stay away from gifts, stay away from bad penalties, stay away from where you're all of a sudden letting this team creep back in. You gave him a reason there on that play, and then no one feels more worse than Sammy on that play there. Again, it just ends up being a costly play. Everybody makes mistakes, but yeah, you're right. And he's the first one to admit for sure that that's the wrong play there. And then you feel bad about it because he feels bad. And then I'm sure he told Trent Miner in the locker room, "That's on me. That's on me. Boys, that's on me. Let's sorry, Trent, but let's go and win the second." It just all of a sudden you'll talk about the second period, but all of a sudden it just didn't turn because Mrazek was very good in the second period.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not saying Chicago doesn't deserve credit. They put together a decent hockey game with what they were given. Honestly, it could have been worse for the Avs. Chicago scored a goal that gets called back. It was clearly a kick by Bedard. Don't get me wrong, but still a dangerous play there. And then they hit a post later in the game too that easily could have gone in the net. So it's hard to look at the rest of this game. First period, no problems really with the Avs play. One major play, I should say, that they need to clean up, but the rest of that they dominated. Second and third periods, I think just about everything on the docket the Avs could have done better.
Yeah, and the number one thing they could have done better, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure it out, is to put the puck in the net, right? They already
for sure.
they 8 minutes in, they scored, they got one goal. Okay, great. You take the lead. We talked about that. Take the lead in the first period, score the first goal of the game, make the game go your way. But that's where, like you said, give credit a little bit to Chicago, right? Because they didn't get intimidated, so to speak, and they still were opportunistic about their plays, and it could have been worse, like you said, with the goal call back, which shouldn't have been a goal, but it's still a fairly good scoring chance. All of a sudden, if the bounce goes Bedard's way, then then it's an easy goal. But it just ended up skate and this and that, and then they didn't. But it's still, and then they hit the post, and like you just said, and then I just feel that it just wasn't there for them. And then, they didn't put the puck in the net. They put themselves in a tough spot. And then I always say those teams are tough to play at times because they play loose. They have nowhere. They know again, we're in January, their season's over. So to speak, and they're not going to the playoffs. So, so sometimes when you play a team like that, that's loose, the person I'm talking about mostly is the goaltender. You know what I mean? Like, because they're usually loose because it's like, I got nothing to lose. And, I'm probably going to get bombarded here. And then, but I got a little bit of a cushion right now and I'm not giving it back. And I just feel Mrazek finds his way against the Avalanche a lot. And I think maybe he was a fan growing up. I don't know. But I feel that he does come up and rises to the occasion. You know what I mean? And I thought in the second period he was really good. That's not an excuse, as you always say. With the superstar talent that you have on your team, you should find a way to muster up a goal or two or three, right? And then, just kind of take the reins of the game. But they didn't. That's where the games was lost in my book, was in the second period, because they didn't capitalize on their chances and ended up biting them in the butt.
Yep. I do want to talk about the Stars a little bit more, but before we get into that, we do got to pay some bills here, as we are brought to you by Bet365. Jump in with Bet365. Apparently, when the Avs are playing a weak team, the bet might be to bet against them. You might earn some good money with Bet365 if you go about it that way right now. So it might work out that way. But whatever you're betting on, make sure you use code DNVR365 when you sign up for Bet365, and you get $150 in bonus bets when you bet anything for $5 or more. So jump in with them. Go have some fun. Either bet on the Avs to win against good teams or maybe emotional hedge to bet the Avs to lose. You can jump in on the Broncos playoff series. You got Nuggets games you can bet on too. Pretty much anything under the sun with Bet365 and that $150 of essentially free money. So jump in with them. Of course, when you do gamble with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. And once you've got your bets in, make sure you're also enjoying your game. Crack open an ice cold Coors Light, whether you're watching the game, chilling at home, having some friends over, or maybe doing a winter barbecue, whatever it might be. Coors is literally made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the can or the bottle to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. And the best part is you don't even have to go out and get Coors Light. You can go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR and get it delivered right to your front door thanks to Instacart. So jump on today. Choose chill with Coors Light. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Look, it might not be fair that we expect the best players to produce every single night, but that's the reality of the job that they have. When you're Nathan MacKinnon and you make $12.5 million, a little more than that even. When you're Mikko Rantanen and there's all this talk about you making $14 million on your next contract, you get that money because you're expected to produce in all situations at all times every single night. And go look at the box score tonight. Chicago's best players produced 2 points for Connor Bedard, their best forward. 2 points for Seth Jones, their best defenseman. Now, are those players better than Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar? No. On the grand scheme, they're not better players. But tonight, Nathan MacKinnon, 0 points. Mikko Rantanen, 0 points. Cale Makar, 0 points. Their best players were better than the Avs' best players tonight. This was not the Avs' depth let them down. This was your top six effectively accomplished nothing tonight if you're the Colorado Avalanche.
And again, I say it, I hate to say that because I know the type of pressure those guys are under. You know what I mean? And I lived it as a player. Again, Avalanche 1.0, that's where we connect the Sakic, the Forsbergs, and the Wah. And, it's amazing the consistency that those guys produced. And now when you're looking at the top three here, the big three, those guys, for the most part, they produce at an unbelievable consistent, rate that is very consistent. There's a reason why they are all on top of the league at the scoring. But when you catch a night like tonight or a sequence of 3-4 games like the last 3-4 games, it's like you can't help but, like you said, it hurts to say almost like, oh, they didn't get, they didn't really produce, so therefore the Avs lost. Yeah, that's, again, it comes with the territory, the pressure to produce, the pressure to come up clutch. Because when there is an opportunity where it's a golden opportunity for your team to get ahead, the coach puts the trust in you because you're better than everybody else. You are more talented than everybody else, and you have done it more often than none compared to anybody else on your team. But when you come up short, it's a tough feeling. You know what I mean? And you feel bad, and you know what they go through because they know they get paid to produce. They know they get the opportunity to produce. Like I tell you, it's hard. It's hard to play 5 minutes a night, never on the PP. I'll tell you, you're not going to produce much in that league. It's just impossible. But when you get the good ice, you're expected to produce. Somebody said to me the other day at the rink there in the morning, I'm not trying to hide anybody that said it, but somebody in hockey, like against Buffalo, and they were saying like, and I like Tage Thompson, I do, but the person that I was talking to didn't really care for him because he's like, well, everybody's talking about Tage Thompson. He's got 38 points or whatever it is, and then you look across the team you're playing that night, MacKinnon, and it's like, 60 points, whatever it is. I'm just throwing a number, but it's like if you get the good ice, if you get the opportunities, and you get the best wingers to play with you or the best centerman with you, you should produce. You know what I mean? So when they don't, it just wears on them, and it does. I'm not telling you tonight that Miko and Mac are absolutely devastated because they didn't know, but they know that the difference was them not producing at the rate that they usually do, and that's the difference. And like you said, you got that one depth goal by Parssisnen, you know what I mean? But okay, well then that's why I always said to you, I always put pressure on myself to. I'm not telling you I succeeded, but it was more like I'm going to go help Peter and I'm going to go help Joe here. You know what I mean? Where they don't have to face that pressure. You know what I mean? If you're losing and then all of a sudden you lose 3-4 in a row, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. And then they don't really produce much in those 3-4 games. They know where KV or myself or they go 20 games without a point. No one really talks about it,
Yeah,
But those
because they're
guys,
depth
it comes
guys.
with it's the territory that it comes with, and
Well,
that's that's all good. That's
I
life.
mean, I do want to go down that path too, but I also want to talk about forget the opponent, forget the time of year. Take any hockey game that the Colorado Avalanche play in, and if I tell you you get no points from McKinnon, Rantanen, and McCarr, how often are you going to pick that team to win? Almost never,
Well,
right?
if you would have told me that this before the game, then I would have bet 365. Take the money on the Blackhawks
Yeah, exactly.
because it's true. No,
That's
but
my
it's
point.
true.
Yeah,
But I agree, and I'm saying the same thing as you. Meaning, if again, crystal ball, right? But it's like, but if you know beforehand, there's going to be, you're like, yeah, no, they're not winning if that's the case, right? Because it's
yeah.
that recipe. That's how they're built. That's their recipe. Uh, the recipe kind of tasted a little, like nothing tonight. You know what I mean? There was missing
Yep.
salt and everything. It just was a recipe. There was just nothing much to it.
Well, and the backside of that is, look, absolutely fair to want more out of the Avs top players, but the Avs need guys to step up in the top six. And yeah, great. Parssisnen scores a goal tonight. Good. The Avs need more of that. But you're looking at that second line too. You're looking at Casey Middlestat. You're looking at Ross Colton. And those guys didn't give you anything tonight either. As look, I think Middlestat's actually played better of late, including tonight. He has 3 points in his last 5 games, which is way better than what we'd seen out of him. But ultimately, when the Avs needed some production tonight, your second line didn't help you at all either.
Yeah, and remember I was talking about Sammy about feeling bad about the mistake he made and feeling bad because then it's like, oh, that's the first goal. Uh, No, actually, it's not the first goal. Trent's allowed a goal before when he came in relief back then. But I'm
Yeah.
saying as a starter, that as in his first start in the net, that's his first goal when you're leading 1-0. So, but don't kid yourself, guys like Casey and everything, they put pressure on themselves. They do, and they just feel worse tonight because it's like I didn't really help out offensively, and we lost to a bottom of the standings team, and we only scored one goal. And part of my job is to create some offense, like you said, 3 and 5. Some plays here and there, but you need a little bit more consistency and a little bit more oomph now when it comes down to if the top line is not going, in a sense, on the score sheet. You got to find a way. You got to find a way better than what we've seen, and if you do that, then it usually is it a key element of winning. You know what I mean? And I think that just this year we haven't. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the top guys are always there in every victory, mostly, and then for the most part, every loss, it's the top guys weren't flying on the score sheet, but they didn't really get any help. So unfortunately, it comes with the territory, but it still doesn't make it okay. You know what I mean? And that's why we're talking about this part right there, where all of a sudden you're going to need them to step up to the plate a little bit right now, a little bit more. And even Ross has gone cold a little bit, right? You know what I mean? After that
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
craziness of a start. Was he going to score 50? No. But there was a little bit of jam, a little bit of swag, a little bit of, like, I'm the man. You know what I mean? Where right now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little harder. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
they need to get back to getting some production from that part and, on a more consistent basis. and that's obviously as a top six. But then again, then your third, fourth line got to get you more than once in a while appearance on the score sheet. I think it's not that hard when you play minutes. Again, look at Parssisnen tonight. He gets 14 minutes, then he gets a point streak going after a nice goal and an assist last game. So, what I mean? If you're getting the ice, you're going to get points. You know what I mean? It's not that complicated. But if you're not, then you're like, whoa. It hits you a little bit. You know what I mean?
Colton just 3 points in his last 10 games.
My point. Here's my point.
Hey, if you want to be a real top six guy, like we think he's capable of being, like he was earlier in the year, you have to produce more than that. It's not that
you do.
Not a complicated process. So,
and that's where
what it is.
Casey needs to catch fire with him. You know what I mean? Like where obviously, at the start of the year, there was a little bit more production from both those guys, whether together or not together. Obviously, we all know Ross was with Nate and stuff like that for a bit, and but you just kind of all of a sudden you have to catch fire a little bit, or you're going to get nights like tonight. No, those are frustrating.
Chad, I don't know what you're talking about. He literally played with the Avs 1.0. He played for the Colorado Avalanche in the late 90s.
Why? Am I missing something?
Someone's asking if you played for the Avs 1.0.
Don't worry
yes.
about it. I think they're just being a smartass.
He literally did. So.
or no, maybe he's just being sarcastic. But again, that's my job to give my opinion on what I thought, and you have to go back to your playing days. So that's not being stuck in the old days. I love the new days. You guys, everyone knows that. I Rudo, Tiff, everyone knows I love Avalanche 2.0. I'm saying, but it's realistic that you compared the two because they're very similarly built on the same way and same expectations. And I don't care if it was 100 years ago or 2 years ago. This franchise, it's very similar right now between the two of them. So. But I can't say I played for the Avalanche 2.0. I didn't. So that would be lying and a health hazard. You know what I mean? Just to be honest with you, probably would have a heart attack in the shape that I'm in. Then the Avs would be in really bad shape if they had it in their lineup, the Avalanche 2.0. Chris will get fired for sure.
You would not be helping their bottom six production levels. I'll put it to you that way.
No. I'd be helping out like the ambulance waiting for me after, the period ends. After my first appearance, one shift.
Hey, one shift would be one more shift than I got, buddy. So
yeah.
you only played. How many shifts would you say you played? Like 10,000?
Shoot, I don't know. You'd have to do the math, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
probably have to do the total number of games.
Over 500 games. So if you're getting 10 shifts a night, that'd be 5,000, which you got more than 10 shifts a night.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of my career, no. I got 10 shifts a month my last 2 years, probably. But whatever. No, I'm kidding.
But then there's some nights you get 20 shifts, right? So
absolutely,
it's tough,
absolutely, yeah. So it's hard. I think you just have to take an average.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick pause here, and then we'll get into our last segment. All right. So, yeah, these games are always weird for me because it does feel a little bit hypocritical to take a look at this game and go, yeah, it sucked. It wasn't fun. The Avs were bad, blah, 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 blah. But then at the same time, I look at games like tonight, and it does not bother me at all on a grand scale. The Avs are coming off of maybe the best stretch of hockey they've played so far this season. If they go out and beat Minnesota tomorrow, you forget about this game very, very quickly. And as Eric said, as much as we expect the Stars to produce every single night, well, they didn't produce tonight. But if Mikko and Mac both go have 3-point nights against Minnesota, okay, on the grand scale, they're better than even. So it is what it is. You're not going to get humans aren't capable of being perfect, right? They're not going to be so consistent that they do it absolutely every single night, even if the best players can do it most nights. Is there something about it when it comes to Chicago, though? Montreal, okay, whatever. You caught them at a hot part of their season. They were playing really well. They had beaten good teams before the Avs. They went and beat good teams after the Avs game. Every year, it feels like the Avs find ways to lose games they probably shouldn't to Chicago.
Think no further than our friend the Phoenix Coyotes, right? You know, I mean, obviously I know the Utah Hockey Club now, but think of it the last few years, they've kind of had their number, right? You know what I mean? There's teams that for some reason they have your number, even though your metrics are saying that you're playing better or you're getting goalie, like you said, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, what matters is the score you see on the top left right now above your head there. And it's a loss. And how you got to it, yeah, there's many different ways to get there. And I just feel that sometimes it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain. Well, how come the Phoenix Coyotes play good against the Avalanche, you know, in the last few years when
Yeah.
they never made playoffs? But they always seem to, I don't know. I don't know what it is or I don't know why, but this seems to be a little bit of Chicago this year, obviously. Last year, I mean, if I remember, I thought they played pretty good. Right when Connor Bedard had a kind of a rude awakening playing against the Avs. I don't think he had one shot on net in the first 2 games he played them, and it wasn't very pretty for him. But it just seems that maybe lately the Hawks have the better of the Avalanche, and there's no rhyme or reason about it. And again, I don't want people to think that you play into a game and you're going to play down to the opponent. You never do that on purpose. No, subconsciously, whatever you want to call that, human nature side of things. Yeah, sometimes, you know, again, defending champs, the Avs were on top of their game last game, right? Because why? It's the defending champs. Maybe tonight you play the defending champs. You don't make that mistake that Sammy did. You know what I mean? Because you're more on your toes, you're more sharp, and then all of a sudden they weren't sharp. You know what I mean? Like Sammy wasn't sharp, and then it's just because is it playing down to that level? Maybe. And again, the National Hockey League is a great league. Connor Bedard is a great player. That doesn't mean that you're doing it on purpose. But for some reason, some teams have the better. And I just feel like Peter Mrazek, I don't know why. It just seems like he's always playing great against the Avs. I think that was his first, I read that, his first game since like early November that he wins a game. This year. So again, I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like if you use Mrazek forever, for example, maybe it's something to do, but he thought he'd get drafted by the Avs and then he didn't, and he's always had a chip on his shoulder against them. There's something sometimes that, you know, we're not aware of, and it just gets the most out of those people, and they really, you know, produce or play their best games against a certain opponent. Maybe that's the case with the Blackhawks. I have no idea. And maybe that's not the case, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it is what it is at times, you know.
Yeah, my camera died, chat. I'm leaving it because this game felt like technical difficulties, to be honest with you. So I think it's appropriate.
I didn't know if you were there or not.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, maybe he did his third grade drawing right
I'm
there.
listening to you, E. It's okay.
No, I knew you were there, but I was like not sure if Rudo was still there. So I'm glad to know that you didn't just pass out and, you know, all of a sudden just left and took your
nights
net.
I wish I could pass out instead of watch these frustrating games from the Avs, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, if you gun to my head, I had the bet on it. If you took the Avs and the Blackhawks in a playoff series, I'd take the Avs to sweep them. But I do think there is. Look, I think there is a little level of mentality here where the Avalanche feel like they can get away with some stuff against teams like this, and it burns them probably more often than it should in the regular season. It's frustrating. Yeah. It sucks.
It is.
I don't think it's all that important in the sense that it's not going to really affect the Avs when it matters. Their regular season job is to make the playoffs, and they've done a good enough job that they're on track to do that, even with the loss tonight. So that's not that big of a deal to me. The other side of it is, and I don't want to sit here and give you excuses because we're well past that point in the season, but it is worth noting that you have to remember the Avs played 11-7 tonight because they had to. They played their AHL goaltender because they had to. If it were up to the Avs, Val Nichushkin, Jonathan Drouin would both be in the lineup, and you would play 12-6, and it would have been Scott Wedgwood instead of Trent Miner. That's what the Avs wanted to do tonight, but they didn't have those options available to them, and unfortunately, that all added up to making a game harder than it had to be.
Bang on. It's exactly what it is. Usually that results into the opportunity for somebody else to step up. But we all know that at so many times this year, the Avs have had guys step up. And again, we just were being harsh on Ross Colton a little bit. If there's a guy in the first month that didn't step up more than Ross Colton around the National Hockey League, I mean, I don't know. He was like, you're talking about stepping up. That was it. That's the definition right there. But tonight, yeah, I mean, did Trent play the game of his life? No. Is Trent going to remember this game the rest of his life? Absolutely, and I hope so, with a big smile on his face, because you reach the summit, you get to start a game in the National Hockey League. Most people don't get to do that, so it's awesome. But reality is that they lost, and that stinks. It's not fun. Of course, if you asked him before the game, do you want to win or lose? Yeah, I don't think he would have said I want to lose, right? So he'll feel guilty, which is very normal. And then tomorrow he'll wake up and take the best out of his game and really feel privileged to be part of this league right now and to be part of a team like the Avalanche. Now, like you said, Natushkin and Jonathan and guys like that, Jordan, and yeah, this year at times guys have stepped up, and then tonight maybe Parssisnen is the guy that we talked about a little bit that kind of took a step towards that. I would have liked to seen, Logan or Parker or guys like that, or Kiwi, you know what I mean? Like where all of a sudden they produce a little more, and then you don't have that score on the left side, 3-1, you know what I mean? So maybe it's a different score. Would you like to have Casey be on top of his game a little bit, where the last dozen games or so, it's been a little tough at times, and you have to be fair and be critical too. That doesn't mean I don't like him. No, I like him. But right now, it's he's not playing. He'd be the first one to tell you that he's not playing to full potential of what he is usually. It's not even a potential thing with Casey. Casey's a number 2 center. That's what he is. We all know that. But right now, he's just not playing up to his full capabilities. How's that? Maybe that's a better word. Whoops, my light just fell. And then sorry about that. But opportunity knocks for some guys when there's injuries tonight. I would say that's as frustrating as it is. Am I worried about the big scheme of things? No, but unfortunately, nobody really stepped up. You know what I mean? To take the reign and to play a little bit out of character, so to speak. You know what I mean? And have a bigger role or a lead role instead of a secondary role.
I've said this a lot, but once again, the frustration isn't necessarily that the Avs lost this night. It's that we know they're capable of better. Look backwards one game where they took care of business against Florida, and you saw a team that played better than they put out tonight. If they were just bad and they lost to Chicago, we'd all be saying, yeah, they're just not a very good team. They lose games. It is what it is. Yeah. But the reality is both expectation and the Avalanche know that they're better than what they showed in this hockey game. So that's where I think a lot of the people are upset with this. And fair enough. No argument. I think it's totally reasonable to say, hey, that wasn't good enough from Colorado. You need to do better.
But if it again, and if it was easy, you'd win 82 games a year, and then that would be no fun, and there'd be no challenge. But just and as much as it's frustrating for us, for chat, for coaches, it's just as frustrating for players too. A game like tonight, because they get on that bus, they get on that plane. Here's the reality of it. Now they're on the plane, and you're going to Minnesota. And you just have time to unwind a little bit, not that long of a flight, and get a little bit of a meal because you haven't eaten since like 12:30, whatever it is, right? So you're getting your meal. It's called decompressing, right? From you've been thinking about all day your opponent, all day you've been thinking Blackhawks. Then all of a sudden you got to stop, and now you're thinking Minnesota Wild, but you also have to let go of the of the Blackhawks, which is hard to do. You know what I mean? Because you're just in it. It just happened. So then you feel bad because you're like, oh man, we messed around. We missed an opportunity. And then, but at the end of the day, like, you got to just all of a sudden erase it, have the memory of a goldfish, and then take what you need out of this one and then move on to the second one, which you get on the bus tonight after that, and then you bus to the hotel in Mini, and then you make sure that, you write down on your key what room you're in, because you'll never remember because they've been on the friggin' road the whole year so far, but whatever. And then all of a sudden, tomorrow morning you wake up, and again, there won't be a skate. It's more like a little meeting, and the coaches, they're getting themselves ready for the Minnesota Wild. They're getting the team ready, so it starts right away in the morning. This is who we're playing tonight. Have some meetings, have some special teams meetings, and then get a good meal and go back to bed. And again, when you're excited, it's like, you're so excited, and you can't go to bed, right? You're so giddy. It's the same thing after a hockey game. Your heart rate's elevated for so many hours, and then it's hard to just get to your room and crash. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's why I love the fact that we had roommates back then. Now they all have single rooms, and it stinks. And I still would be requesting a roommate. I'm the opposite, but because it's fun to talk hockey with your roommate. You know what I mean? And just to kind of try to put it behind you. You know what I mean? Where, of course you have time on the plane to do that on the bus and everything. But again, I would talk all night hockey. So it was kind of fun to have roommates. But at the end of the day, you got to get yourself ready to go, because it's a huge game tomorrow. Of course, you would have made your trip so much easier if you win the first game against an opponent that's behind you and you should beat. It makes the trip a lot easier. Where tomorrow on this trip, it makes it a must-win on the trip. If you're just purely talking about tomorrow's a must-win, because if you lose that game, you've lost the trip, right? It's a 3-game road trip. So if you lose it, you've lost the trip. So it's a must-win. Games within the game, right? Little things like that. And don't think they don't talk about that. They do. You got to challenge yourself. It's a long year, and you got to come up with those little gimmicky, challenges like that.
Yep, it's never how you lose, it's how you respond to it. And the Avs don't have to wait long to respond to this one with the Sega Baba tomorrow against Minnesota. So I guess we can kind of wrap things up there. We'll be back tomorrow. Same thing, pregame, postgame, watch along. You can enjoy my living room again for the watch along tomorrow, maybe. So it should be fun. But we appreciate all y'all hanging out for this one, even when the Avs do struggle to win at times. But we'll be back for the next one. And
we have 2
super chats. I forgot about super chats. My bad. Drew, thank you very much for the $7. Says, burn the tape, be pissed off, and start a new streak tomorrow. On to the next. And that's exactly it. If the Avs go on another 8-game point streak, nobody's going to remember this game. I promise you that. And then I think we had one more super chat. $2 from Melanie, who says, bummer, on to the Wild, go Avs. Maybe that's the best way to look at it. Don't stress too much about it. Go play the next one. Shout out KC for all of the live watch along super chats. Always very generous, so we appreciate you. I don't have the last one he posted, but he's awesome. We appreciate him or her. I don't know who you are. You as a person, we appreciate
that.
Yep. We're out though. We'll be back tomorrow evening for the Avs game. Hopefully you'll join us for those, and we'll talk to you on the next one, presented by Bet365.